Hi, I'm Dave Roseman. I am not with the school district. I'm your city traffic engineer. I work for you. When this project first came up, I guess the first meeting was in December. Is that correct?
December.
Yeah. I actually had one of my staff members come to that meeting, so he heard most of the things that those of you who were here said. I can tell you what we've been doing with Long Beach Unified. They have come in and talked to us a couple times about the project and the concepts. And I just have the board up here is just the general area, and I know some of you are way back there, so if I point to it, I'll try to explain what I'm pointing to. And so they've come in to talk to us a little bit about our methodology for doing traffic studies, how we look at them, how they're done in Long Beach, to make sure that the study that they do would meet the requirements that Long Beach normally has. And they've asked us for data, accident data and for volume data. And we've actually gone out and gathered some data as well and provided that information to them. They've hired a consultant. It's LSA, I believe. It doesn't mean anything, but it's just a consulting firm to do their traffic study. And they're well underway with that and have come up with some concepts as to where the traffic would be coming from and things of that nature. I don't think anything that they have is firm set yet, but basically that's kind of how these traffic studies go. There's usually some interaction between us and the party before they actually come together with a firm study that we get a chance to look at. Just to give you a background on how some of these studies are done, my understanding is they've done some extensive research on where they think the students would be coming from, based on the type of school it is and where the draw might come from. And I don't know their final numbers on that either, but so they've done that for this site. So that's how they come up with their trip generation, trip distribution, where the people are coming from, and that's the direction they will head to this location. I hope you guys won't boo me off the stage here. I'm trying to just provide you with some information. Basically, when we do trip generation to figure out how many trips are generated by a use, if it's an office or if it's a Starbucks. Obviously, a Starbucks generates a lot of traffic, right? There's different types of uses. Well, actually, what we have as traffic engineers, and these are national manuals, there's actually a set of 3 like this that are produced out of studies across the nation that tell you, based on the type of development, how many trips should you expect. And basically, when you do these traffic studies, you use the tables in the book. You look up, tire store, how many service bays do you have? And then you can look up the table and figure out how many trips they should generate. Now, for schools, which is very interesting in here, that's why I'm going to try to talk about this a little bit. They have studies on middle schools, they have studies on elementary schools, and they have studies on high schools. Now, what's interesting, if you take a high school and middle school and you compare them, just off the book, a middle school of about 1,200 students compared to a high school of about 1,200 students. Actually, the book comes back saying that the middle school will generate more traffic than the high school. Now, I know intuitively that doesn't seem to make sense. You would think if it's a high school of 1,200 students, you would have more cars driving around because kids drive, right? As opposed to middle school. But actually, because of the studies, what happens is that in a middle school environment, those kids don't drive. So you have a tendency to have parents drop them off and pick them up. So there's actually 4 trips there. They drove to the school to drop them off. Then they left the campus, that's 2. Then they came back to get them, 3. And then they left, 4. Now in a high school environment, when a student drives, for pure traffic study purposes, that kid drove, parked, and then left. So when you look at, that's only 2 trips as opposed to 4 for that same student. So that's kind of where you look at this and you go, well, it's a high school, but shouldn't it generate more traffic than middle school? Well, actually, the studies support that it doesn't. It's basically a wash. At a high school, you tend to have more activities that tend to be kind of off-peak, whatever they are, dance or other types of theater arts or athletic events or something like that. They generate a little bit more traffic over the entire day, but during that peak hour, actually a little bit less than middle school. So when you look at it that way, and you look at converting this school to a high school, and we're working with the school district, we're kind of at a little bit of a disadvantage, if you would, because the numbers work out to be about a wash between the middle school existing and that in the traffic study environment. At the current environment, I don't think we have a lot of pedestrian activity at that corner, because a lot of the kids are either picked up or they're on a bus or what have you. But in the high school environment, you're probably going to have more kids that are going to walk over to the park or going to go partake of the businesses either on or the McDonald's or at the other corner. So when we look at that, and I think the school district, I don't want to speak for them, but I believe that they also recognize that we have a situation there where we want to make it as safe as possible. So we've had some discussions with them, and I've had actually all of my engineers, I have 4, they've all looked at the problem and trying to figure out some type of way of improving traffic flow at that intersection to make it safer and also deal with the congestion that we have along Los Coyotes. Because if you look, and it's kind of hard for you in the back, but Los Coyotes goes at this diagonal up to Carson, and Studebaker comes into it right here. Well, obviously when you have 2 roads into one, you're going to have a little bit of problem in this short little stretch. So that's kind of where we're at. I don't know when they will be finished with their study, and when their study is actually finished, we get to comment on it just like you guys do. But it's nice for them to come, because they don't have to come to us and ask us for information and ideas and things like that.